Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
Are you guys familiar with a band called Teddy Bears? They previously Teddy Bears Stockholm or STHLM. Anyway, I wasn't super familiar with them either, but there's the song that keeps popping up on my Spotify algorithm that's them featuring Iggy Pop.
Oh,
and the song's called, it's either Punk Rocker or I'm a Punk Rocker.
From one of the James Gunn movies.
Soft Machine is the album that it's on. I'm not sure, but
I think it's from like Superman.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is I'm a punk rocker, yes I am.
Yeah.
Oh, I know
That
song,
song
yeah.
has been in my head this week, and it's so fun because I'm a poser. I'm not really a punk rocker,
But this isn't a Name That Tune podcast.
True.
It's Cinema Chop Shop. It's a movie podcast where we periodically get together and talk about films and such. And today is one of those such days. I'm your host, Shawn. I am joined by Todd.
Howdy.
And as you've already heard, Travis Cito.
I'm here too.
Joey Poole cannot be here tonight as he has domestic
Domestic duties.
He has domestic duties, and we will give him shit for this.
Yes.
Shame.
He has to go look at wedding venues
Shame.
like any of the women are going to listen to his opinion about it. They just
Right,
want
it's
that.
just
Yeah.
he's
Slap.
window dressing at
Yes,
this point.
Exactly.
Okay, this week we are going to be talking about Southern Gothic films.
Yep.
I knew some goth girls in high school.
Yeah, I mean, clearly we're talking about goths who have
They were Southern.
accents. It's kind of like a
Black lipstick.
You get the black lipstick, the black fingernails. But you also dip. You know.
And I'm glad you mentioned the poser element in punk because
Yeah.
there's some of that in Southern Gothic as well, kind of the posers that pop in and out. I would argue that a film that I'll talk about later, The Paperboy, might fall into a little bit of that poser category.
But in all
we'll get to
seriousness,
that later.
Southern Gothic, the films that are inspired by or even taken directly from Southern Gothic literature, your Tennessee Williams,
Yep.
your Flannery O'Connors,
William Faulkner.
and Faulkner.
And they're blending those dark themes.
Yes,
with
you've got the-
decaying backdrop.
You've got the
of
grandeur of the old South, but
It's
try as you
decaying.
might, you cannot keep that veneer going underneath. There's something rotting
Yes,
away.
there's rotting away, but there's the heirs being kept up. There's formerly grand plantation houses that are crumbling and falling apart. Family members that were the former aristocracy that are now broke and unimportant, but who still keep up the
Eccentric
heirs of
but
using
flawed
They
characters.
still call each other colonel and stuff like that. You know, that sort of thing.
Dark secrets.
What do we think
you know.
about deep-seated guilt
Yes,
in a post-slavery South?
definitely. Definitely.
And it's a kind of a genre, as the word Gothic would imply, that teeters on the edge of horror. It's not really horror. There's usually not super natural elements, although occasionally you could argue it in some cases. But
definitely a
there's that dark
macabre-
edge,
a
the
macabre vibe.
yes.
Or
Yes.
horrible things that are swept under the rug.
Yep.
Oftentimes pop up.
So I think that the that kind of theme, that motif, is really exemplified both physically with like all these structures that are falling apart, like a House of Usher almost, but also societally, like we were saying, the former grandeur of the South. So it's
Well, I think one of the best
Yes.
examples of that would be like the film Baby Doll. It's a perfect example of an old Southern plantation home that is falling apart. You have the head of the household who has a 20-year-old bride who he keeps chained, not even really chained, but he keeps her like in a day bed, like almost like a baby's bed. And it's just this fucked up, creepy
charade,
exactly. Trying to put on airs that you still have your whole act
like pronouncing
pulled
it
together.
charade.
Yes,
Yes.
You,
Ha-ha,
you have your
charade,
you have your act together, yet everything is falling apart behind the scenes.
And it makes sense that this genre kind of arose, that the heavy hitters like Faulkner, Flannery O'Connor, and all that, they came in kind of the third generation after the Civil War. They would have seen their parents and grandparents maybe, steadily declining, but maybe still putting on some of those airs.
And
they would
it's-
have been around all the decayed plantation, houses and whatnot.
And as we in the room can attest to, there's still a little bit of that going on today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You still see some of those trappings of the old Southern lifestyle that
Absolutely,
are slowly
you do.
starting to fade away, but there's still...
This wouldn't be Southern Gothic, I guess, but like the sisters, the crazy sisters that lived in
Grey
Kennedy.
Gardens.
Grey Gardens,
Yes.
It's that kind of vibe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
The crumbling, former, and people that can't accept it, who haven't moved on, who are stuck in the past. They're
And what
like,
oftentimes happens in these Southern Gothic stories is that you have these insular families that
Yes.
they kind of convince each other that this is normal. What we're
They
doing is
echo
normal.
chamber each
yeah,
other.
yeah, totally echo chambered because this is just the way it is in our family, and that's when weird shit starts happening and
Yep.
cousins start marrying and things like that.
Yep.
Before we get into our features, some essential ones that we're not going to cover today: A Streetcar Named Desire,
Absolutely.
To Kill a Mockingbird. You mentioned Faulkner, The Sound and the Fury. What about Wise Blood? This is one.
Wise
yeah.
Blood is definitely one.
I'm
It's
not
great.
so familiar with it though.
Well, the book it's based off of so there's the novel by Flannery O'Connor. It was
Okay.
the only novel she wrote. She was mainly it was one of two novels she wrote. She was mainly known for her short stories, but very weird and strange novel. And the movie is directed by John Huston, which
Okay.
is a very strange movie for
Brad
him.
Dourif is
Yes.
the lead, and he's
Huh.
starting a church without Christ.
Yeah, the Church of Christ without Christ.
Interesting.
It's a good movie. You
And
should
so
check it out.
it's a preacher barking on the street, but he's basically arguing against the church, and it's a very profoundly strange novel. If you've ever read Flannery O'Connor and then you find out later that she's actually a very devout Catholic, you're always shocked. You're like,
Okay.
this woman is a devout Catholic, and that's another thing that you see in Southern Gothic literature too. Are these a lot of times there's this profound strangulation of religion, even when you don't perceive it as such.
Another great Southern Gothic film would be Cape Fear. Both
yes,
the original and the Scorsese remake. I watched both of those in preparation for this episode to kind of get myself in the mood.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a newer remake, possibly a TV series, but they set it in Savannah.
Well, here's the thing about
instead.
Cape Fear. Both films, the first movie was shot in Savannah, even though it was taking place in Cape Fear,
North Carolina.
Wilmington or whatever. And then in the Scorsese remake, most of the shots were in Miami, Florida.
But still set.
Still set in Cape Fear in
But the
Wilmington.
new one, they're not even fucking
They basically
with it.
said, fuck it, we're just going to say it's Savannah.
Okay.
basically they just wanted to use the title.
Yeah.
And you could argue that the best version of this is the Simpsons episode with
Hell
Sideshow
yes.
Bob, where he famously keeps stepping on the rakes over
Yep.
and over again.
Yeah.
So good.
All right. We've completely deviated. So let's pull it back in. We're going to talk about our feature segment.
Oh, you could, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think you could also,
Good.
make an argument for that one.
But you could also say that a great Southern Gothic film is Night of the Hunter, our
Yes.
feature segment.
From
Correct.
1955?
Yes, from 1955, directed by one Charles Lawton,
Who was a great actor,
fantastic actor.
and his only film that he directed.
What would we know him from as an actor?
Captain Bligh.
Yeah, he was a character actor for the most part. He was also in a couple of early Hitchcock movies, I believe.
Yes.
39 Steps, I want to say, was one of the ones he was in. That was, I think, Hitchcock later remade as North by Northwest.
So, released in 1955, it stars Robert Mitchum in one of his most terrifying roles, except for Cape Fear, where he was
Yeah, no,
equally
yes.
terrifying. Shelley Winters, who one of my least favorite actresses, but I liked her in this one.
Well, she was, yes, well suited. for
Lillian Gish, Billy Chapin, and Sally Jane Bruce.
this. Lillian Gish, who was a starlet of silent cinema. She was in some of those early D.W. Griffith movies.
Right.
Also, Peter Graves.
Peter Graves.
As condemned murderer Ben Harper, because he's going to burn one down.
All right. In Depression-era West Virginia, fanatical serial killer Harry Powell masquerades as a traveling preacher, marrying a vulnerable widow to track down $10,000 in stolen bank loot hidden by her executed husband. Turns out that Harry shared a cell with her husband and learned of this money. When the mother realizes his true intentions, Powell murders her and relentlessly pursues her two young children down the Ohio River forcing the kids to navigate a nightmarish fairy tale landscape to escape his clutches.
Yes.
Oof.
And his famous love-hate tattoo.
Tattooed fingers.
Yep.
Which seems almost anachronistic for the time. Like, that's something you would see today. Is initials on somebody's fingers.
Yep.
But
Well, of course, that gets used again in Cape Fear.
In the Scorsese remake,
version of it, yeah.
he really went full on with the tattooing of the main character.
100% from this movie.
Yeah, exactly. So I noticed that too, that Scorsese borrowed from another Robert Mitchum movie. By the way, the Scorsese Cape Fear features 3 of the main characters from the original Cape Fear in supporting roles.
different roles, yeah.
Yeah, you've got Mitchum,
Gregory Peck, right?
Gregory Peck, and Balsam is also in it.
Right on.
So anyway,
I prefer the original personally, but anyway.
yeah. So back to Night of the Hunter. Todd, you really, really like this movie.
Yeah, I've just the first time I saw was I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and it's just got. Of course, I'm always been a big fan of the Southern Gothic literature, Flannery O'Connor. You know, I'm an English teacher, so when I was in grad school, read a lot of that material. But the film, though, it is Southern Gothic, of course, in nature, but it also borrows from other aspects of other genres in film. For example, German Expressionism plays a big role in the sets of the film, particularly from the silent era. You've seen like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, that German silent film, with those angular sets and things like that, and the use of the sound stages. Wonderful use of that. Particularly, one of the most famous scenes of this movie, of course, is Robert Mitchum riding on the horse at night in the moonlight, singing. Terrifyingly while the children are, kind of hiding from him.
Yeah, and I think it's even heightened because when you consider these are children who are like out on the lam, seeing these very scary. It's got to be scary for them being out in this environment.
And proportionally, it makes no sense, the scene.
Right.
And in fact, I think it wasn't even Mitchum on the horse. I think they put a little person on the horse to kind of create the effect. But it gives it that fairy tale.
And it also, in the same way those strange acute angles worked in Dr. Caligari, it destabilizes the audience.
Exactly. Yes. So it's got the Southern Gothic elements, but it's also, Lawton's also kind of borrowing from some of these other genres as well.
It's not much of a spoiler that Mitchum kills Shelley Winters in his pursuit for the
in
money.
a very
But yes, the aftermath of the murder for 1955, very disturbing. He puts her behind the wheel of the car, the convertible.
Well, first off, he stabs her in a scene that is not even remotely subtle in its phallic intent.
Right.
The knife thrusts in her.
Yes, but he ultimately covers up the murder by putting her in the car and pushing it off into the lake, where you've got this beautiful shot.
Oh my goodness!
It's a panning shot, and you have the seaweed just kind of floating or rippling rather, and then she comes into frame, sitting just upright in the seat of the convertible, just underwater. It is very disturbing.
And her hair is like flowing, and
special effects wise, incredible.
I would I didn't read. Did you guys read how they did the shot? I'd love to know. Did Shelley Winters just have to sit underwater and keep a straight face the whole time?
And pursuant to that, I feel really bad for the old drunk fisherman who thought that they were going to pin it on him. The entire plot of the movie could have been circumvented if he was sober and realized that they're not going to come after me. I couldn't have done this, but it does precipitate the children going out on the run and ultimately finding their home at the. It's not an orphanage. It's not an official orphanage.
She's like a cat lady, but she collects children.
She collects children.
Yeah, and that's what it seems like.
And they find their way into her home.
And this is the Lillian Gish character.
Yes, interesting way that story kind of meanders into that part of the film.
But it works because this woman ends up being this kind of strong protector.
She reminds me of the old woman who lived in the shoe.
Yeah.
With all the children surrounding her.
But then there's like almost a duel, kind of a subtle, quiet duel between her and Robert Mitchum, where they're singing that hymn, The Old Rugged Cross, there's a part in the old rugged cross, if you ever listen to the song, where there's a harmonizing part where where the men and the women trade off the lines, and Robert Mitchum starts singing that song, and she trades the lines off with him, but it's in like a confrontational sort of way.
Well, it totally speaks to that whole Southern Gothic deal of corrupted faith and religious hypocrisy. It's put on full display right there. You've got this woman who's being altruistic, doing the right thing for these wayward children, and then you've got Robert Mitchum who's completely gaming the system.
Right. Remind me, because it has been a little while since I've seen this. Does Harry marry Willa to try and get the money?
Yes.
They get married.
That is
and when we find out things are going awry, this is another thing about kind of the lack of subtlety in the sexualization of the movie that's shocking for the time. But on their wedding night, she's wanting to go in the room for little love making,
action,
and he lets it be known right away that there ain't gonna be no love making, and that it's not going to be what she thinks it's going to be.
So the reason that I ask is because I did actually, for each of the movies tonight, note the tagline for the movie. And this tagline, had he not married her to get to the money, would not make any sense. The tagline was, the wedding night, the anticipation, the kiss, the knife, but above all, the suspense.
Yeah. Oh, quick correction. I said the old rugged cross was the song they were singing. It was actually Leaning on the Everlasting Arms, which is kind of a similar song to that. But anyway,
another aspect of the film that not necessarily Southern Gothic, but does echo Southern literature. The children in the boat going down the river kind of reminded me of like a Huck Finn kind of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Echo.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about some of the sexualized symbolism, I'm sure Lawton was borrowing kind of heavily from the Freudian, psychology that was popular, around that time, with some of that symbolism there as well. So, I mean, kind of borrowing and melding some of that into of course, that's present Southern Gothic stuff anyway. But
the one thing about the movie that I didn't particularly care for, but I might warm up to it over time, because it's true. The Naked City was a film that I had a misgiving about, and it was the way it was stylistically treated. Is in this movie, it starts with the Gish character in the sky as like a celestial figure, and then you've got the other faces of the children kind of acting as kind of like here's what you're gonna see and here's what we're gonna do, kind of preamble to the movie, and then in the end it kind of ties it back into that as well. I wasn't crazy about that.
No, I don't know.
And maybe I'll warm up to it over time, but that was my only misgiving about this entire movie.
That was a little kind of a misstep, maybe. I don't know. But one of the few flaws in the movie, because it's almost a perfect movie for my personal taste. It's very economical.
It's very stylized.
It's very
You talked about the German expressionism. There are some distinct choices that Lawton made as a director that I was like, oh, okay, cool. I definitely took note versus just a straightforward storytelling.
Yep. And the fact that he was a first-time director, maybe you don't get those. He's doing things like he's never done it before. He's observed it, but
something you wanted to try out.
Yeah. Quentin Tarantino talked about that the first time he directed, because he didn't know anything he didn't go to film school or anything like that. And so he was just kind of, can we do this? Let's try this? Or, just things that, you just have that fresh perspective, I guess.
I'm looking at his name, Charles Lawton, and it's spelled Lafton.
Lafton.
So I'm wondering, name origin wise, did his ancestors come from a town where everybody was hilarious? I've got some fun facts.
Yeah, hit us.
All right. So you mentioned this already, Todd, but the sequence of Powell riding the horse in the distance was actually a dwarf on a pony. It was filmed in false perspective. And then Dutch-born American serial killer Harry Powers, nee Herman Drenth, was the inspiration for The Preacher.
Herman Drenth. That sounds like
a great name.
Yeah, he should have stuck with Herman Drenth.
Yeah, if he was going to be a serial killer, he had the perfect name.
I have additional trivia.
Okay.
So, yes, we mentioned that this was Charles Lawton's only directorial feature. It's because the film did poorly. It was a critical and commercial failure, upon its release, and the negative reception devastated Charles Laughton to the point where he deeply never wanted to direct another feature film.
He took his ball and went home.
Yes, he said, enough of that. Robert Mitchum's improvised love and hate knuckle tattoo monologue became one of the most famous sequences in the film. It directly inspired homage scenes in works like Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that was probably just too, strange for its time, or too ahead of its time, I guess. And it just, I can see where, an audience from 1955, both critical and audience-wise, might not have been ready for that.
Laughton specifically cast silent film star Lillian Gish as Rachel Cooper, the protective matriarch who shelters the children, to anchor the film's climax in the righteous moral purity of early cinema, to contrast Mitchum's modern noir menace.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, another
and that's interesting,
choice.
too, because it sounds like Laughton had in mind some commentary on film.
It kind of reminds me of like in Sunset Boulevard, where they used a lot of the old silent film actors in that playing the card scene. So interesting to make that deliberate choice.
Yeah.
So Night of the Hunter.
Yep. Great film. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Can recommend for sure. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to maybe go outside in the rain and thunder.
We're going to Laugh Town.
We got a lot of thunder if you can't
Town.
hear on the podcast, but it's bad weather. It's that time of year where we're getting these evening thunderstorms.
It's perfect for our Southern Gothic episode.
It is, and it's hot and humid, so it's right on brand. All right, well then I guess we're going to take a break, but not before we say, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some Southern fried chicken.
There you go.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
And we're back. I braved the rain to relieve myself, but no one else did, so hopefully you boys are going to be all right. We are going to continue with our individual picks. Yes, Travis?
Well, you can cut this out if you want. I was thinking that the name of the Gullah movie was Sisters of the Mud, but it's actually Daughters of the Dust.
There.
Okay.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
That was close.
Yeah, the different. All right.
If it became a franchise, that would be, the name of one of them, the next one.
I really want to take a microphone outside and just record Foley because the rain is just really nice right now.
Perfect for the Gothic episode, too.
Yeah. Continuing with our individual choices, Joey had selected Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte.
Do you want the tagline?
Yes.
Don't tell anyone what happened in the summer house.
And there's also a famous clip of the Hall of Fame football linebacker Dick Butkus talking about how he went to the movie Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, and then he used the imagery of a head rolling down the stairs. He said it kind of gave him a charge, and he would use that imagery when he was playing football.
Fucking psycho.
I know.
Wow. My review for this was gaslighting.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, yeah.
Just the manipulation of her and by the people younger than her in that movie. Oh my God.
I've got a quick plot summary.
Hit it.
40 years ago, on the night they were meant to elope, Charlotte Hollis, played by Bette Davis, found her lover decapitated during a party. The blood on her dress leading everyone to suspect she was the murderer. Now, in 1964, Charlotte is an old recluse who must fight to keep her home. She enlists the help of her cousin Velma, played by Olivia de Havilland, who was there at the time of the murder. However, soon after Velma's arrival, Charlotte's mind becomes unstable and she starts seeing her dead lover's head.
It should be mentioned, too, that in addition to the Southern Gothic elements in this movie, it's also coming from a genre with the unfortunate and probably unfair name of hagsploitation. Joan Crawford, Bette Davis were in a lot of these movies and would have sort of similar gaslighting themes and that sort of thing. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is one of the best examples of that, which is
I
a
conflate
fantastic
those
movie.
two movies together for that very reason.
Yes.
The titles are similar, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, Joey could not be here. Instead, he chose to be henpecked
I found the final scene of this movie interesting with the old man who just kind of put the whole thing together and laid it out for the audience before the credits rolled.
Yeah.
Did that seem cheap to anybody?
It's probably for people like my mother who just still has
Yeah, a
questions.
little bit.
Hi, Mom, if you're listening.
There was a bit of a Perry Mason feel about that. If you've ever watched the old Perry Mason episodes,
Wrapping things up nice.
Yeah, there's a wrapping up, and then also there's always kind of an improbable twist, which you get in this movie when it turns out that I guess the sister and the guy are in cahoots with each other.
Yeah.
In their gaslighting efforts, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool one worth checking out if you can locate it. It's not an easy one to find on streaming, if I remember.
I actually found it on Hoopla, which is a service that we have through Joey and I have through our college.
It's a
library
yeah.
type
Kind of like
service.
Canopy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So that's how I found it.
Very good. All right, well then let's just jump.
Fun facts. I've got some fun facts. This is the second movie in a row in which Olivia de Havilland stepped into a role originally announced for Joan Crawford, the other being Lady in a Cage from 1964. Also, director Robert Aldrich had to take 3 planes, a train, and a taxi to go up a goat trail to get to Olivia de Havilland's house, which was in the mountains of Switzerland. It took him 4 days to convince her to step in and replace Joan Crawford.
Oh my! You could make a movie about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right, Mr. Todd, it's your turn.
Okay. So the film I picked is a more recent movie from 2012 called The Paperboy. It is directed by Lee Daniels, a director who has one of the annoying habits of putting his name in front of every film. I don't like when directors do that, but in any case, it is based off of a 1995 novel by a writer named Pete Dexter, who had won a National Book Award for a different novel. Dexter co-wrote the screenplay with Daniels, so it is, the original author was kind of involved with it. It stars it's heavy hitters here: Matthew McConaughey, Zac Efron, Macy Gray, who had a career for a second that I don't understand, that I'll talk about in a minute. John Cusack, Nicole Kidman, in a very sultry and lusty and over the top kind of role.
Naughty.
Yes.
And don't forget David Oyelowo.
Yes. He has a very important role as well. And this film, when it came out, was very polarizing with critics and audiences alike. It didn't have the negative response that Showgirls had, but in some ways it reminds me of that movie a little bit, in that I felt like there was some satirizing going on that a lot of people didn't get, if you want to say that to the movie's credit. Because it is very melodramatic and over the top with some of the things going on in the movie. Lurid. Lurid, almost like soap operatic. And I think all that's by design. Basically, the premise of the film is called The Paperboy because it involves a family of journalists. Matthew McConaughey and his brother have a father who was a journalist. And Matthew McConaughey has been working on a story about this guy who's accused of a crime played by John Cusack. He's accused of committing a murder that they do not believe that he committed. In fact, he didn't commit this particular
but
murder.
He was convicted of it,
and he was convicted, and he's on death row. Yes, but he is not a very friendly fellow, not someone that you root to get out of the clink. Not a very nice guy, very racist. Mm-hmm. And he and Yue, if I'm pronouncing it right, are both kind of working on this case. Yue, in his part, it should be noted, affects this British accent that we find later on is a put-on that he's done because he thinks that's the only way that he's going to get taken seriously.
But I think that the actor David Oyelowo is actually
British,
right? Yes, in kind of an interesting.
But his character's
twist.
name is Yardley.
Yep. So this movie is definitely Southern Gothic in that, of course, it's set in the South. We have these scenes with, in the swamps and deep, Southern accents and all that stuff. But we also have lots and lots of melodrama. Nicole Kidman's character is a woman who has a fetish for becoming romantic pen pals with prisoners, one of whom is the John Cusack character. And they have a scene in the prison when she meets him for the first time with the journalist there. She's kind of helped set up the meeting with the journalist to get him out, where they basically have tantric sex, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. I don't know.
That was just regular sex.
She spreads her legs, and he kind of talks her through what he wants her to do. That kind of thing. Interestingly, there's no nudity in the movie, even though it just kind of is dripping with there's a Zac Efron's character falls in love with the Nicole Kidman character.
Do I remember correctly though? There is a scene where Nicole Kidman is sopping wet in whatever.
Oh yes.
Okay.
A scene actually very that reminds you a little bit of her famous scene from. The movie that she did based off of the woman that killed her husband,
Queen of the Desert,
To Die For.
To Die For, yes. When she's dancing in the rain with it's a similar scene to that. But there's just a lot of improbabilities here. One, Zac Efron's got the big muscles and everything, but we're supposed to believe that he's, kind of a sad sack with the women and this sort of thing. And that's why he falls in love with, Nicole Kidman.
That was hard to get over.
A bit of a hard sell. He did.
Chiseled Adonis is.
Yes, I know. And to be fair, he did well with the role. He wasn't a bad actor. It was just a strange choice, I thought.
Yeah, it was the casting issue more so than on him.
There was a minute there where people were trying to make Macy Gray like a thing as an actress, and I never understood it. I thought she was awful in this movie. I guess it's because of her sultry voice. Maybe I don't know.
What did you think of her in Training Day?
She had kind of a small role in that, didn't she?
Do I remember correctly that Zac Efron was very affectionate toward her? Is that?
Yeah, they had a friendly relationship. There's a scene that's kind of funny, but also like would this really happen? We're set in the 1960s, basically, where they joke around about having sex with each other, basically, and she falls on the ground and lifts her legs up, and or see her panties, and it's like,
no. She ain't going to do that.
She ain't going to do that, right?
No.
So now, when I'm watching that movie, I'm thinking Lee Daniels knows that this stuff is not probable, right? And you assume that the author, who has a lot of bona fides, as it were, and Pete Dexter, he must know this as well. So my assumption is that they're maybe trying to kind of satirize some of the sensationalism that sometimes you get around Southern Gothic material. With the incest, and there's a whole string of movies that came out. A movie that we didn't mention that certainly would fall in the Southern Gothic realm would be Deliverance, right? After Deliverance came out, you had a lot of those movies that were sort of exploitation movies that played around with the South and the Southern Gothic elements. Yes, redneck exploitation. You could throw The Hills Have Eyes in there, even though it's not set in the South, but like the concept there as well. And so, and then some of those more soap operatic melodramas too, with the oozing sexuality, that sort of thing. There's a movie called Written on the Wind that was in the Criterion Collection that kind of falls in that. Now, I like that movie quite a bit,
a good movie.
but is a Douglas Sirk melodrama that kind of goes over the top with things. And you see that in the Nicole Kidman character. She's very much over the top, but to an extreme sexualized,
it's kind of like a caricature
example.
Movie almost.
Yeah, exactly. They do get Cusack's character out of jail. It gets a bit convoluted, frankly. He ends up kind of forcing Nicole Kidman to move with him into these swampy backwoods. Her fetish was for him being in prison, not being out of prison. So immediately when she's confronted with him, she's like, "Oh, I really have to go to the swamp with you?" Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, but he ends up actually killing her. And Matthew McConaughey and his brother Zac Efron, I can't remember the name of the character, but they go to find her. Matthew McConaughey gets murdered by the John Cusack character. And then there's actually a pretty cool scene where Efron escapes in the swamp and takes his brother, and I don't know. Now, this is another part that's like, how would he have possibly done this? He escapes and somehow gets the bodies of both his brother and Nicole Kidman's character into this boat and makes his escape. And so, of course, John Cusack's character screwed. He goes back
That's
to the
why
house.
he had to have those muscles.
Yeah, exactly. Another movie that was kind of like this too. Before that I thought about doing as well. Black Snake Moan. I don't know if you remember that one.
We were just talking about that last night.
Yep.
I talk about that movie.
Which was the movie with Christine Ricci, where she's
Travis loves Christina Ricci.
Yeah, where she's chained to the radiator, and Samuel L. Jackson's in that movie. But there was a similar controversy around that movie because of the over-the-top elements to it. I think Lee Daniels is kind of trying to do a similar thing, which is that you can't take it at face value. I think what he's trying to do, and he may disabuse me of this if I ever met him and proposed this, but I think he's satirizing / critiquing some of these over-the-top elements. Not necessarily completely successfully, though. It's an interesting movie, not a perfect movie. It's worth seeing, though.
Fun facts for The Paperboy. In 2014, Nicole Kidman said that this was the only time she has gone method and stayed in character throughout a shoot.
Lord.
in her career.
Because her character has a lot of indiscriminate
She
sex.
spent all of her time jerking off inmates.
Also, this movie received a 15-minute standing ovation at its premiere at Cannes.
Really?
Speaking
It's
of
always weird sometimes you
over
hear
the
the
top
movies
and
they like there.
melodramatic, it brought director Lee Daniels and Zac Efron to tears.
Oh my God. How melodramatic.
Yes, yes.
All right, Travisito, I think it's your turn to talk
Over-
about your film.
Over to me, I've got a movie called Galveston. So this is the rare occasion where I read the book that the movie was based on.
Yeah,
I
you
did,
never learned to read.
Yes. So it's written by a guy named Nick Pizzolatto, who most people would know from True Detective.
Yes.
And that's actually the reason that I read this book. The book came out before True Detective, but the movie came out after the series.
Actually, he was a poor English professor and basically a fiction writer. He had a book of short stories and then decided that this was not the life he wanted. He didn't want to be a professor stuck in Indiana on tenure or something like that.
What's interesting about
So
the
he went out
short
to Hollywood.
stories, it's a bunch of those short stories are set around the theme of the Yellow King, which
Yes.
comes up in True Detective.
Yes, exactly. I've read that collection too, and it's good as well.
That being said, the tagline for Galveston is "No past, no future, nothing to lose," which is a pretty fitting tagline. This movie is dark as hell. It's gritty and grimy.
If you saw True Detective and expected anything else,
We debated, is this a Southern Gothic? And it is.
And it
it's
leans
also
a little bit towards Southern Noir.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or even it could be more Southern Noir leaning towards Southern Gothic. But I think that some of those,
It does hit
these,
the points.
those themes are...
These genres all have
Yeah.
that was one movie that I almost did that's kind of similar as Blue Ruin. Have you guys ever seen that?
And this reminded me quite a bit of that.
Right, and I didn't do it for that reason. I was like, well, is this noir or so? But those genres do kind of overlap.
So our main character, Roy, is a heavy-drinking criminal enforcer and mob hitman whose boss set him up in a double-cross scheme. Now, the boss is played by Beau Bridges, and it's probably the most contemptible role that I've ever seen Beau Bridges in.
And
he's
he did a good-
normally kind of
good.
affable.
Yeah, he is.
You really hate him in this.
He was kind of unlikable in oh god, what's the movie? Tom Cruise, Show Me the Money and all that, and he played the guy's the
Jerry
quarterback's
Maguire?
dad. Yeah, Jerry Maguire. He played
Jerry
and he was
And I'm spacing on the main
Ben Foster?
actor's name. Ben Foster plays
Underrated
Roy.
Ben Foster.
Yeah, he's very good in
I like
this.
him in everything I've ever seen
Yeah, I
him
know.
in, yet no one ever talks about him.
And what was he in as a kid? I can't he started
Oh, I
out as a
don't remember
child
that.
actor.
So anyway, his boss sets him up because his boss is now dating his ex-girlfriend Carmen. And so he sends him on this job but tells him he can't bring a gun. He doesn't want it to get messy. It turns out to be a double cross. After killing his would-be assassins before they could kill him, he discovers Rocky, a young woman being held captive. Go ahead.
Oh, so Ben Foster, first thing I ever saw him in, and probably the first thing he was ever in. Did you guys watch Freaks and Geeks?
Yeah.
Heck
He
yeah.
was the mentally challenged kid
Oh, wow.
in Freaks and Geeks.
Really?
Remember that character?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I know.
So Rocky, a young woman being held captive, played by Elle Fanning. And he reluctantly takes her with him when he escapes this situation. And they're determined to find safety in Galveston. On the way, they stop at her hometown in Texas and pick up what she says is her little sister. And he hears a gunshot in the house, and she says, "I just shot the wall. I only scared him." And they make their way to Galveston, and they hole up in a motel. The motel is run by a woman who was really good. The actress was really great. She tells him, "I'm here all the time. I'm friends with lots of police officers, and I keep an eye on what's going on in this hotel."
That character, by the way, is similar to the Florida Project Willem Dafoe character, and I think this is like an actual thing where these motels where you have lots of extended stay people, they kind of look out for people.
I didn't mention that Rocky is a prostitute. She ran away from home and got into a life of prostitution. She's a sex worker, and that's how she ended up in that situation. Roy is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. He isn't a good dude, but he does have good intentions. He wants to protect Rocky, and who we find out is not her little sister, but actually her daughter, through rape by her stepfather.
Your classic anti-hero.
There's your Southern Gothic spin on the whole movie. Yeah,
exactly. And we also find out that she did not shoot the wall. She actually killed her stepfather, and they're now wanted. So they're double on the lam. And so Ben Foster's character, Roy, when he escaped that setup, he took a large quantity of documents with him that implicate his former boss in some very shady dealings, incriminating him. And so he tries to blackmail his boss, and he does so from a payphone to cover his tracks. But what he wasn't so careful about is when he drunkenly called his doctor about what he believes is lung cancer, asking him how long he has to live. That is what enabled them to track him down to Galveston. And right when, for better or worse, he and Rocky are starting to show feelings for one another, they're out on a date. He's showing her a nice night on the town. They go dancing, and bam, they're snatched up by some of Beau Bridges' goons. And the next scene is Roy waking up. He's been bound and beaten.
Brutally beaten.
Very, very brutally beaten. And
his face doesn't look the same.
Right. And spoilers from here, because the rest of the movie is a gut punch. His ex-girlfriend Carmen sneaks in while his captors are off doing something and sets him free. And the next, 5 to 10 minutes are one continuous tracking shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he proceeds...
Well, first he discovers...
He proceeds deeper into the place where he's being held. It's a dry cleaning place. And he finds Rocky dead, naked, on a table, having been gang raped and murdered.
Yes.
And God damn, was that rough.
Yep.
It's what's amazing about that is that it's just how her body is posed, and there's nothing graphic or gratuitous about it, but what happened to her just by how her body's
her face
positioned.
is turned and her eyes are open, and for
It's
a split
just
second you
rough.
You hope that she might still be alive, but you know she's not.
Yeah.
And for want of a bed sheet, he has to put a curtain over her
Yeah.
And so there's nothing he can do for her. He has to get the fuck out of there. He goes out and steals a car.
Well, a lesser movie too. Because you're thinking like, he has to sneak through this place they work at, and you're like, oh, he's gonna stab them all to death and go
you're thinking
Rambo or
this is
something.
His John Wick moment.
Yeah, exactly.
That Rocky was his puppy dog.
Yep.
But
He's so crippled at that point.
it doesn't work out like that. He gets in a car and almost immediately gets in a collision.
Yep.
Wakes up in the hospital. Then we move forward in time a little bit.
Well, wait a minute. We have a
Wait. He has a sit down while he's incarcerated with the lawyer of his former boss, Beau Bridges' character, who in no uncertain terms tells him that if he testifies against the man, that they're going to go after the kid and the two nice black ladies who are taking care of the kid. And so even though he could have saved his own ass to protect the little girl, he doesn't say shit, and he does 20 years.
Well, before that, though, remember when he's in the hospital getting treated for this accident, this is the only instance I ever can think of where this has happened in a movie. What should be happy news, no, you don't have lung cancer.
Yes.
You have some other
It was like
condition
a fungal infection.
that is easily curable. You're going to be fine. And so...
Yeah, and it doesn't really even faze him because he knows he's fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so fast forward 20 years... Roy is out of prison, and there is a hurricane happening, and everybody's boarding up their windows and getting out of town, but he's not.
Great age makeup on him, by the way.
And this is very Southern Gothic-y scene, I would say.
Where's he going to go? He's like the old man who refused to leave Mount St. Helens when it's erupting. But right there, as the storm is bearing down, there's a knock on the door, and it is... I can't remember the daughter's name.
Right.
But it's the little girl. She's all grown up now, played by Lily Reinhart in this. And she wants to know what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
What's the deal? And he says, okay, I will tell you. I'll be honest with you, but there's a storm coming, and if I talk, you leave. That's the deal. And he holds up his end of the bargain, and so does she. And... that's it.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
The one light in this movie, though, is that she tells what's happened in her life, and it all sounds pretty good.
She's a graphic designer. She's in love. Things are going well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she just but she wanted to find out about her past, and she didn't really know much. She thought her mom abandoned her.
And that's got to be a huge reprieve for him to know that he did the right thing, and she did
That's
do well
his
in
only
life.
solace.
Yeah.
Even though I watched this movie back in 2018 when it came out, and I read the book, I was not prepared for the emotional impact that it was going to have on me.
Oh, right?
Watching it.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck.
Yeah. It's like two really hard left turns in that movie.
When that last scene implies that he just walked straight into the
into
ocean.
the storm, man.
Yeah.
Fun facts.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Fun facts. In 24... No, wrong one.
Do you need to take a break?
Nick Pizzolatto, who adapted his own novel, decided to use a pseudonym after seeing the movie because some changes were made by the director, and he didn't feel the final result was his screenplay. Huh. That's fair. It was directed by Melanie Laurent, who we know mostly as an actress. This was her first English language directorial film, but she's shown up in... Quentin Tarantino movies. She was in Inglourious Bastards.
Was she the French woman?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Melanie Laurent's English language directorial debut. She had previously directed 2 feature films and a documentary in France.
Okay.
Cool. All right. The whole reason I devised this episode was to make myself watch my pick, Eve's Bayou. I've seen this movie picked so many times in the Criterion closet, and I said, you know what? I need to watch it. So I did. Directed by Casey Lemons, it was released in 1997. It stars Journey Smollett, who you would know from Lovecraft Country, all grown up. Samuel Jackson, Lynn Whitfield, Debbie Morgan, Megan Good, and Diane Carroll. I don't know if it's Diane Carroll, but it's Diane is the spelling. In 1962, Louisiana, 10-year-old Eve Baptiste grows up in a prosperous black Creole community. Her father is a highly respected local doctor whose undeniable charm hides a compulsive womanizing habit.
Mm-hmm. He's a philanderer.
After Eve accidentally witnesses her father in an intimate encounter with a family friend, a complex web of lies, fractured memories, and voodoo-infused tragedy begins to untangle, forcing the young girl to navigate the murky, dangerous line between truth and perception. There's a quote from the film that I put in my notes: "The truth changes color depending on the light."
Ooh,
like that.
One of the things I love about this movie is that your interpretation of the film relies heavily on your predilection for believing in mysticism and religion versus being skeptical and pragmatic. Because the film starts out with the dialogue that Journey Smollett says, "I was 10 years old when I killed my father."
Yeah.
And you're left watching this entire film to figure out, how did you kill your father? Well, spoilers, as it turns out, she wishes him dead through a voodoo priestess. And depending on your belief system, will either condemn her as the murderer or absolve her as the murderer. And to me, that is just brilliant storytelling. What makes this a Southern Gothic? You've got an immersion in the swampy Spanish moss-draped Louisiana bayou. It's in the name. The humid setting acts as an inescapable character that mirrors the smothering emotional tension within the whole family. You've got these elaborate characters. Everyone has their own thing, almost. You've got, as we mentioned, Samuel Jackson's character, the philanderer. You've got Journey Smollett's character, Eve, her teenage sister, and her younger nerdy brother.
Cicely, played by Megan Good, and I don't have the brother.
And then you've got Samuel Jackson's sister, who kind of hangs out with the family.
The Aunt Moselle.
And she's gifted.
Quirky, psychic Aunt Moselle.
Yes. And apparently this runs in the family, being able to touch hands and see things that aren't really there. So yeah, the movie starts out, there's a social party at their house, and Eve sees her dad kind of canoodling with somebody out in the greenhouse, and her sister tells her after the fact what she really saw was this, and she's kind of trying to cover for her father and make her think that she
Speaking of gaslighting.
didn't see what she really saw. Yes. Eve holds this grudge, this kind of scowl at her father throughout the rest of the film because she kind of knows what's up. And it does pop up several times. He makes house calls, and that is a very loosely veiled euphemism. Another cool thing about this movie that, unlike your typical Southern Gothic where you've got the fallen white landowner gentry, you instead have the wealthy black Creole family, which is very unique in this genre. But also because of their circumstances, they also crumble under that weight of infidelity and secrets. So
it kind of takes the dynamic and inverts it a little bit, but we still have some of the same effects.
Right, exactly. But yeah, as I said, you've got these unreliable truths in the film. It really depends on what your take is on it. If you go and see a voodoo priestess and wish that your father dies, and he does,
are you actually guilty?
Are you responsible? Are you guilty? Right. Or is it just because he was sleeping around with yet another person and being brazen in public and being seen with her, and her husband or beau or whatever shoots you in the parking lot?
Was the great Santini's son responsible?
Exactly.
For
Yeah. Very much the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that is that's the crux of this movie, is like, who's responsible? I guess the other big plot point that I'm overlooking, though, is there is a situation of the Samuel Jackson's character kissing the teenage daughter, and it is a question of who initiated the kiss. And in one telling, it was the daughter who was forcing herself on the father, and from another point of view, it was the father who kind of went too far. In either case, the daughter gets slapped onto the floor, and this further enrages, Journey's character, and it really depends on what you believe. And at the end of the film, she touches hands with her sister, and she supposedly sees the truth for what it really is.
So it's got a little bit of a Rashomon quality where you get different versions of the
does.
story depending on who's.
But it
telling
also boils down to your own personal belief system, and that's what I really like about this movie. Is like, do you see it as bullshit, or do you get swept up in the mysticism?
I think that Eve's brother was played by Journey Smollett's actual brother,
Oh, cool.
Jussie Smollett, now disgraced Jussie
Oh, there-
Smollett.
I did
who
not
did
know-
The,
oh.
Who did the fake racial?
You need to watch the
attack.
Netflix documentary,
Oh,
though.
my.
Watch the Netflix documentary about that, though, because
There's more to it than
there's
that. Okay.
there's a case to be made that maybe
All right.
he got
Uh-oh.
railroaded, but
But I do recommend watching this movie.
I didn't know they
It
were
is
brother and sister, though.
It's a very beautifully shot film. It's very gauzy, sweeping, humid kind of depiction of the South. And
Not to the same extent, but a little bit of the same feel that the movie Beasts of the Southern Wild had. That's more in the magical realism category. Do you remember this
Yes.
from 2012?
this does a really good job of depicting Louisiana in and of itself without being cliche. It
Right.
does not have your old Creole kind of swamp redneck.
people walking
kind of
around
thing.
in blue jean overalls and
You don't have any of that.
straw hat.
No. It's strictly a well-to-do Southern
Not a
society.
single po' boy was eaten.
So yeah, I recommend it highly. I'll hear your fun facts and I'll hit you back with mine.
All right. So, according to writer and director Cassie Lemons, her cut differed greatly from the final cut released to theaters, which eliminated a major character from the movie. Also, the film was selected by the Library of Congress in 2018 for preservation in the National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant.
Okay. Samuel Jackson saved the film. Casey Lemon struggled to get the film made as her feature debut. Samuel Jackson read the script, and he was so passionate about the project that he not only signed on to star as Louis Baptiste, but he also joined as a producer to help secure the necessary funding.
It's funny his that you mentioned Black Snake Moan earlier. 'Cause
Yeah,
his
he's in
character
that too.
in that is almost the opposite,
Diametrically
of this.
opposed.
Yeah,
Legendary movie critic Roger Ebert championed the film relentlessly, ultimately naming it as the single best movie of 1997
Wow.
over heavyweights such as Titanic and L.A. Confidential.
wow.
So there-
Interesting.
He's the only film critic, or at least at the time, he was the first film critic to receive a Pulitzer.
But then he also did direct Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Who, Roger Ebert?
Yeah,
He wrote the screenplay, right?
I thought he directed it.
Maybe he did. I think he wrote the screenplay too. That's a fun movie, though. I don't
Yeah.
care what you. I mean,
It's fun, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
cinemachopshop@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Southern Gothic movies, and hooray for us. We're going to be back in a few weeks, and we're going to do an episode called Back to School.
Back to school.
These
Yeah.
are going to be movies that are inspired by the school experience, high school, college, what have you. And
Grown men going back to school.
exactly, because we are three grown men who are going to be going back to school. The three of us have signed on to take a Monday night class offered by Francis Marion University. South Carolina on the Silver Screen is the
Yes.
name of the
So
class.
the history of South Carolina film.
Yes, so we're looking forward to that. This will be the first time in 31 years that I've stepped foot in a classroom as a student.
Yeah.
So this will be exciting.
Sometimes he just goes and hangs out in class.
Hey, how you doing, kids? Hell, this is Steve Buscemi. How's it going, my fellow students?
Or you're like,
Fellow
all right,
youths?
all right, all right, like Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused.
So yeah, that's what we're gonna do in a few weeks. So check us out for that,
Yes.
but also wish us well as we endeavor to learn and be well behaved in a classroom.
Yeah, we'll
setting.
try not to piss the dean off, setting off an unfortunate chain of events.
All right. Thank you very much. Please rate, review, subscribe. Tell your friends about us and check us out on all the social medias. We're Cinema Chop Shop. We are Cinema Chop Shop Podcast on YouTube and Blue Sky. Tell your friends and neighbors and loved ones that you love them.
Yes.
Do kind things for strangers. It will make you feel good and they'll benefit from your altruism. In the meantime, please remember to
Watch, chop, retrofit.